Jodi, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your own pathway from Middlebury to where you are today.
Well, when I was at Middlebury, I was one of the first people to be trained in something called GIS, Geographic Information Systems. It's a computer analysis system that I immediately applied after school doing land use planning. Trying to understand how to sort people out across the landscape. And I pretty quickly moved into nature conservation when I moved to Zambia and was running a GIS system to support a community-based wildlife management program. And so I really went deep down the road of GIS for a long time. And then after that, I went and helped to run the Africa program of a conservation organization called the Wildlife Conservation Society. And that was like, there were 80 projects across Africa, and it was just such a wonderful time to really learn about all of the different ways that conservation was moving forward across Africa. And I pretty quickly realized that I kind of wanted to run one of those projects. And to me, the pathway forward was to get my PhD. So I went to the University of California, Berkeley, and I got a degree, a PhD, and I studied wildlife corridors, how wildlife get from one place to another through the sea of humanity. And it just happened that that was what interested me, and it really led to my career in large landscape conservation, really thinking about that interface between humans and wildlife and the land use planning part, right? How do we sort out a large landscape so that both people and nature can thrive? I ultimately, about 5.5 years ago, ended up here at the Yellowstone to Yukon Conservation Initiative. And it's a really exciting place for me to be because it's local. I was born in the Rockies. I love the Rockies. It's where my heart sits, but it also goes all the way up to global. So we engaged in writing the global guidelines for connectivity. I really love to be able to connect all of those levels together in a way that can drive forward conservation at all scales.
Jodi, given your past experiences, what you know today, and your perceptions of the future, what advice do you have for current students for them to best position themselves to be successful as they move forward?
Yeah, it is my opinion that going forward, the world is going to be increasingly complex. And so what that means is that a broad liberal arts education is really, really important. I think there is a role for specializing, but the people that I see that are most successful in contributing to real long, enduring, and lasting change actually have a pretty broad skill set before they begin to specialize. And so I think go out and get the hands-on experience, maybe get some more formal education, but also recognize that looking backwards might not give the answers, but it's really about the creativity, the energy, and the enthusiasm that this next generation is going to bring that might really bring positive change to the world. And it can happen literally through any discipline. It's about really applying one's passion to get there.
I know that you've mentioned just during the course of this conversation the number of different roles that there are in the field, ranging from what might be considered more STEM-friendly majors to liberal arts more broadly. In terms of the actual knowledge sets and your understanding of the Middlebury curriculum, what are some of the knowledge sets that you think are for students to get under their belts while they're at Middlebury?
Middlebury's a language school. I focused on Spanish when I was there and even went to an intensive summer of Spanish, which was awesome because I wanted to work globally. So having language and diversity of languages can really open doors no matter what you do in the international arena. I think likewise, the ability to write whether you're a scientist or whether you're an English major or whether you're a news writer. Like, writing is a basic thing, so I strongly recommend developing that. If your passion is in science, I encourage you to start really broad, because the reality is some of the best innovations are stealing from other disciplines. So, for example, in the world of corridor ecology, understanding where wildlife might move, we stole this electric theory, right, and used electric current and applied that science to how wildlife move. And now that's sort of the leading edge of how we look at potential wildlife movement across a landscape. And so that's what I mean about sort of looking across those disciplines and exploring it broadly. I think also, understanding the major world's religions. I took a number of religion courses when I was at Middlebury. And I think, those can help understand and broaden one's own perspective, but also understanding of other people and the way that they might formulate their worldviews. So again, I guess generally speaking, take as many classes as you can. Really try to broaden your perspective, because it will help no matter what field you choose to go in. When I look at those leaders that are truly making a difference, almost all of them have the ability to think across those disciplines and to pull the pieces together in unique ways.
As you reflect back on your own experiences, I'm wondering if you have an aha moment, something that occurred throughout the pathway that you were following, where suddenly everything became clear to you from a professional standpoint in where you were going. Any inflection points for you?
Well, I think there's been a lot of those. And even when I was an undergrad, I spent a semester at a university in Switzerland. And I will never forget this because it's pretty profound. I left that university. I had a great year. It happened to be the year the Berlin Wall went down and the Czechoslovakian Revolution. I got to go to the revolution. That was incredible. But there was a person that was a counselor there. And I had a lot of conversations with her. I left the school. She sent me snail mail piece of a note. And she said, Jodi, I ran across this job and I immediately thought of you. And it was a job with the World Wildlife Fund running the Africa program. And she said, maybe this is something you can aspire to in the future. And I've kept that. I don't remember that person, but the fact that she knew better than I did what my job trajectory might be was really incredible. And so, use those resources for sure. And I think for me also, I had a number of aha moments. I've been really fortunate to get to work with some really incredible people, like Amy Vetter and Bill Weber are the people who really enabled tourism in Rwanda to save mountain gorillas. So they worked on the social science and biological science kind of interface, the two of them. And today, that's the number one or number two income for all of Rwanda. And and it has very much and very clearly contributed to the restoration of mountain gorillas to that country. They're incredibly inspiring people, both in what they did, but also in how they mentored. And so finding those people who, are inspirational, I think is a really important part of a career path, and working for those people and learning from them.
Well, what advice would you have for women interested in careers in science?
Ooh. All right. Well, the science suggests that women are less confident, but often more competent. And if there was a gift that I could give to young women going into science or into math, it would be trust yourself. Believe in yourself, because there was a study that a friend of mine did in math, and she gave boys and girls really, really hard math problems. And she asked at the very beginning, who thinks they can do this? And inevitably all of the boys thought they could do it, and many of the girls didn't think they could do it. And as the time went on and they were working on the problem, many of the boys realized they couldn't do it, and actually a lot of the girls gained confidence in doing it. But the gift of having confidence at the very beginning and believing in oneself is so important. Because it makes a difference in the classes, it makes a difference in publishing, it makes a difference in standing up and saying, I'll take that risk and I'll do this job, which will lead to great growth for me personally. And I don't know how to give that gift other than to say, notice if you're not one of those confident people and ask yourself why and work to fix it.
We've been speaking with Jodi Hilty, President and Chief Scientist with the Yellowstone to Yukon Conservation Initiative. Thank you so much for your career field perspectives.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.